Hello and welcome to This Week in the News. Rachel Pruchno, a respected gerontologist with more than 4 decades of research experience, is taking a stand against age discrimination after being demoted and experiencing a 30% pay cut at Rowan University. The 68-year-old academic, who served as the director of research at the New Jersey Institute for Successful Aging, found herself unexpectedly stripped of her position in corner office just 6 months before her 69th birthday. Pruchno's career at Rowan was marked by securing nearly $6 million in National Institutes of Health funded research awards and 125 published articles in top journals. However, last June, she received an email informing her of the impending demotion and salary reduction, leaving her blindsided. The university's actions had been followed by allegations of age discrimination, with Pruchno and her labor union filing a formal grievance against the university and a complaint with the state of New Jersey's Office of Civil Rights. To settle the dispute, the university offered the researcher a 6-month sabbatical, followed by a 30% pay cut contingent upon her signing a non-disclosure agreement. Pruchno rejected the offer, arguing the agreement would absolve the university of any wrongdoing. In the show notes, I've included links to a couple of different articles that outline employment attorneys' tips for what to do if you get fired and how to document your dealings regarding any kind of discrimination or bullying, including age. Their biggest tips: never sign a non-disclosure agreement without first contacting an attorney, and document everything, even phone calls, by sending a follow-up email to the individual with whom you spoke, summarizing the phone discussion. Shifting gears, 4 years ago, it was estimated that 1 in 6 Americans were aged 65 and over. That is projected to become 2 out of 3 Americans 65 and older in just 16 years. This is just one of the many reasons why, as a culture, as a country, we need to proactively address ageism in the workplace and everywhere else it shows up. For example, healthcare. When I was in my 20s, I remember thinking that 50 sounded kind of old. But by the time I was in my 40s, I didn't think 50 was old at all, of course. But 70 might be getting close to old. But now that I'm 60, I definitely don't think 70 is old. And one of the reasons I thought 50 was old when I was younger is because my parents said it was old. When they were in their 50s, they referred to themselves as old, and that became imprinted in my mind. But now I've learned that age is not something that can be classified across the board. The way that each of us age is unique. And I know that my mind and body and spirit at age 60 is very different from both of my parents when they were my age. In fact, I've firmly come to believe that aging is a lot like fingerprints. We all have fingerprints, but each is unique. And we all age, but the way we age is also unique. I have a friend in her 70s who's still working part-time as a researcher, and she is sharp as a whistle. But because her children have friends whose parents aren't aging well, her children expect her to be like them and suspect that she's on this rapid path of decline. That's internalized ageism. Her children have been influenced by the lived experiences of their friends and don't realize that the way each person ages is different, even though my friend continues to tell them so. The good news is that most of us these days will have an opportunity to age in health, just like my friend is doing, and just like I'm doing compared to my parents. Here's the pinch. When you experience ageism early in your career, that really sucks. But the good news is that you'll age out of it. However, when you're at the other end of the spectrum and you experience ageism, there's no growing out of that one. So no matter what your age, I hope you'll join us to call out ageism whenever you see it. To close, I want to talk to you about the fact that the skills gap at work continues to grow because learning and development is just not keeping up. The jobs report from the World Economic Forum last year found that 44% of worker skills will be disrupted in 5 years, 6 out of 10 will need training in the next 4 years. That's huge. The same report names technology and digitization as the biggest drivers of business transformation in the years ahead. No big surprise there. And skills gap as the primary barrier to that transformation. So the goals of learning and development talent leaders must expand to match the pace of change. I know that's hard, but the one thing I will say is the importance when you're thinking of training and retraining and upskilling is to include everyone across the age spectrum. The real answer is for all of us to be proactive in our own training and development. If your company is not keeping up, take charge because your career mobility will count on it, whether you stay with your current employer or you find a new one. Thanks so much for joining. You'll find links to the articles I've referenced in the show notes, and I hope to see you next week for This Week in the News, when we'll all be 1 week older. This Week in the News is sponsored by Age Equity Alliance, a Texas-based 501c3 working globally with progressive companies to attract, develop, and retain talent across the age spectrum. If your company wants to understand more about Age Equity Alliance, please contact Sheila.Callahan at ageequityalliance.org. You can follow Age Equity Alliance on LinkedIn, listen to our podcast on Spotify, or visit the website at ageequityalliance.org.